Hey everybody, with me today I have Mello Liza Smilez, who is a multi-talented, multifaceted, amazing human being. Hey girl, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining me today. Of course, I love talking to you, so I want everybody else to get to know about you a little bit more. So thank you for coming on and taking this time to chat with me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. So we were just talking a lot off camera, and I do know
hmm
Mello's life pretty decently, even though we've only met virtually, but she has
hmm
a lot of talents. So you guys need to hear
Thank
about
you.
it. So can you give us a quick rundown of all of your businesses and what you do professionally? And then we'll dive into each of them briefly to
Okay.
talk about it, because I really don't think that there's anything like I just told you that you're bad at. And I can see that you have your hand in everything, because I'm like, when I get home from work, I'm like, oh shit, I'm tired. Time to go
Right.
to bed. And you're like, nope, job
Right.
number 2 starts. So yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Mello.
Okay. So I'm Mello. I'm a radio personality. I've been working in radio for like over 10 years now. I'm a licensed hairstylist. So I'm licensed in California and in the state of Texas, where I'm from. I'm from Houston. What else? I own a credit repair company. I also do credit repair, but probably in the next couple months here, I'm going to transition to like just owning it and like making sure like just hire people and just have them working. I do have a couple people working right now for me. So that gives me more time to kind of focus on other things. What else? I'm married, I'm a wife. I live out in Cali. And what else do I do? I DJ.
Yes, and you have
Like
making it in the media.
yes,
You're yes.
making it in media. I'm starting to do that more. So I have Mellow Nose. So yeah, like I have a couple of different things that I do.
Just a couple, no big deal. Yeah, no
Right.
biggie. So let's get started about your DJ career, because you have been working that for quite a long time. What was your
hmm
inspiration to get started? Did you just like one day say, you know what, this is what I want to do? Is it an obsession with music that just naturally translated? Like, how did you get started being in the industry?
More so just like an obsession with music. Like I always really liked music. So like when I grew up as a dancer. I professional dancing. I was a gymnast and stuff like that. And I did like competitive, like so it was like a little bit of a different arena where you go around, you travel, and all that other stuff. And so like I was like, man, I have this thing for music. And then when I got older, I was like, I really want to get into radio. And then I got into radio, and then I just wanted to like be more multi like faceted. And I was like a producer. So like a producer, you get to like pick the music and the vibe of the show and stuff. And like I was always picking like just really cool stuff. And I have like a really big like music library in my head. And ever since I was a little kid, I was one of those little kids where like I picked up on everything, and I like always listened to like 70s and 80s and 90s and like different genres. So like every time like someone would turn the station on, no matter what station they played to, whether it was rock, it was like hip hop, country, I would know the song and be able to like spit it out, you know? So people were like, what the hell? And I didn't know that it was a thing. I was just like, oh, you don't know like the music either? And they're like, no, like you have a really good like understanding of like a variety of music from different genres, from different time periods. And I was like, okay. And then like I just was like, okay, I want to DJ. Like, cause I didn't know, like I knew what a DJ was, but I didn't know how I could put everything together. And it just made sense after a while, like, oh, okay, like this is something that I can do like myself, and I can like take it out, and I could do events, and I could do different like arenas, and I don't have to just do it at the station playing music. I could really make it into so much more. So that's what kind of got me into it. And I ended up moving. I had always like been interested. When I was living in Houston, I tried to like learn, but no one wanted to teach me. And so like people would be like interested, like, oh, you're cute, you know, that's cute or whatever. And I was like in my like early 20s, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And then when they realized like I was already working in radio and like I had like a background, people would get scared. Cause it was
Yeah,
like, oh, bitch,
okay.
I'm really, cause it was like, I'm not teaching you. Cause like, it's like, that's like the extra thing you need. And that's going to make you like, you're like, essentially you're going to surpass me. Cause it's like, okay, like, yeah, you do radio and you produce and stuff like that, but you do that over here on this station. It's like if I teach you how to DJ, there's only so many DJs here in Houston like that's gonna just make you my competition. So I was like, well, damn, you know, I just couldn't figure it out. And so long story short, I had moved to Sacramento with my husband. We got married. We had only been married a month. And I seen that there's this DJ school that I had been looking at in LA that was like offering classes, and it was getting ready to start up like in like a week. And I just like, I talked to him. He had already been knowing, he's always, you know, we grew up together. So he's always known about how I am, my creativity. I want to move to LA and all that. And so I was just like, are you cool with me like going? And he gave me the okay. And so I moved to LA, and it just took off from there. Started learning how to like really DJ, all the, you know, figure out all like the stuff that I didn't know. And then I just started DJing.
What a journey. That is so amazing. Now, I do have to ask though, because this question was popping up. Did you like, how did you get into the radio station? Like, did you take a club in school that transitioned you to give you that skills? Did you just like blindly apply? Like, how did you just say, yeah, I'm going to work at this radio station?
No, like everything with me is like a random, like weird journey. So like, I'll make it short though. Okay. So I was going to school. I went to college, right? And I already knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in the creative, like arts and stuff like that. But my parents are African, they're West African, and they were not for it. So anyone who knows about like African culture or just like culture from like overseas, like when you have immigrant parents, most of the time they're like, you need to go to school and be like a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, something that's like stable. And I was just like, that is so not me. And like, but I was always really, really good at school. So it was kind of hard to like combat that, because it's like, and I'm the youngest in my family. So it's like, you're the golden child. Like you have to like, you know, and I'm just like, so I went to college and I ended up double majoring. So I was like, I did social work and I did radio television. So I was like, okay, social work's gonna be like the stable, you know, thing. And then radio is gonna be like what I really, really want to do. So I did that, double majored, all that stuff. I got out of school. And what I did was I took a whole bunch of classes and stuff. So summer, all that, I was in class, I was doing my courses, but I wanted to hurry up and get out of college. So I didn't take an internship. And so if I would have took an internship, it would have made me stay in school like 6 months longer, or maybe actually a year longer, because you have to like leave school and go intern. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to finish school and get out. Well, I got out and I couldn't get a job in radio because I didn't have any experience. And I didn't realize how important it was to do an internship. So I was like, damn. So I automatically was like, okay, I'm still young. I'm not married. I'm not dating anyone seriously. Let me go back and get my master's. So I went back and got my master's in social work because I was like, I'm already here. Might as well. So I did that. And while I was there, I was like, let me see if I can intern somewhere. So I talked to my teachers and I had to get special permission. Like, so this is like, I'm just explaining this because I really had to work and figure this out. Like it wasn't like an easy, just do it. So I had to get special permission because it's 2 different colleges, and thankfully they're under liberal arts. I know this is going a little deep, but so the partner was like,
so I'm like, don't worry about it. I asked the question. I'm like, I want to know. So add all the details. Yes.
Yeah. So like the departments, they kind of know each other because it's kind of similar. They're both like, like English language arts and stuff like that. So I had to meet with both the department heads and tell them like the situation, because they were like, okay, if you're a social worker, you're here to get your master's, why are you trying to get an internship in radio? Like what's going on? And they could not figure it out. And it was like, but they knew me. So it's like, this girl's always so damn crazy. Like I was the one in class that like was just like always outspoken. And like, they would literally be like, well, what do you want to do when you get out? And I was like, I want to move to LA. And it was like, what does that have to do with, what you're doing now? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. Like, I was like, I'm going to figure out how to, merge it. So long story short, I asked for permission. They were like, nah. And then I just kept asking. I wrote out like a detailed, like paper and stuff like that to them and just really requesting. And I was like, you understand? Because what was the situation was that I was in school and I was already taking like the max amount of hours that you can as a master's student. Okay. And that was going to add on so I think I was going to be taking like 16 or 19 hours, which is like really, really crazy. And that's why they didn't want to do it, because it was like, we don't want you to fail. And I was like, I'm cool. I'll be all right. And so they gave me permission. I did my internship, and then I did really, really well in my internship. So it was at the radio station that hired me. first they started me off in the sales department, which I was like, I don't know, I want to do sales. Like, I'm not here to like sell, whatever you're trying to sell. Like, I want to be on the other side of the building, because the building was like split and there was like a door that locked. And it was like, this was like, you would like see the door open, and then it was like all like the, like all the radio stuff and like the DJs walking around. I was like,
I want to be on that side.
Right.
Yes.
And like the side I was on was like so boring. It was like all like the office spaces and the cubicles and stuff like that. And I was like, so like after like 2 weeks, I just like straight up told him, I was like, okay, I've been here for a little second. I was like, hey, look, like, I want to be on that side. Like, I want to do radio. And like, they gave me to go ahead and do it. And then I just started from there, worked really, really hard. And like, less than about like right at 3 months, they went ahead and hired me as on-air personality. And
wow.
And it just took off from there. Like they gave me a chance to get on air, and I was like, oh, yeah, like now I'm about to do it. So when I got on air, I just did really, really good. So they were like, oh, okay. So they gave me my own show. I just started going and growing like from there. And they just kept giving me opportunities to do more and more stuff. And it just took off from there.
That's incredible, because you really are like speaking the truth of what everybody says is you just have to get your foot in the door. Even though it was not on the right side of the door, you literally got your foot in that door. You're like, okay, this locked door is now, I have access to it. Let me go blow it up and make it the best that I can do. And clearly they were very impressed, because like off the rip, if you pretty much got your own show, 3 weeks after being on air, you're like, no, I proved to you that I am worth it. I was trying to tell you guys, you just didn't believe in me, but that's incredible. So that was, I'm assuming, in Houston? Yes. Okay. So, and how long were you on that station for?
I was there for about, I think, a good at least 3 years, if not more. So I was there from like 2012. I was there for like a good, like maybe like 4 years.
Wow. Okay. So definitely longevity for that. And hopefully the department heads for the social work department came and apologized and like, no, we see your vision. Yes, we're glad that we granted you this internship, because, I think that's the nice thing about having the stability, right? And having that stable job, but you still have to be able to express yourself creatively. I can't talk.
Yes. Creatively.
Yeah, I'm like creativity. No, but I think that's incredible that you really were like, no, I'm still gonna do as what my parents really want for me and do the stable thing, but I really am gonna do something I'm passionate about. So
right, yeah, because my parents basically were like, mainly my mom. My dad didn't too much like, not that he didn't care, but he was just one of those kind of people where he was just like, if you, as long as you go get your degree, he was like, I don't care. You can he would always say like, you can go put your degree in like a drawer somewhere and go work at McDonald's. He was like, as long as you have it. He's like, because you could always pull it out. Like, he just was a person who felt like education was like, everything, and you need to have education to make it. So I was like, all right, cool, I can do that. And then with my mom, she was just more so, which is crazy because my mom's like my mom's a business owner, has always been an entrepreneur, is really like, just like me, into a whole bunch of different stuff, a go-getter. And I'm like, girl, like, you've lived this life. Why do you keep trying to get me to go like
away from it?
Yeah. And like, but she was just like, okay. She was like, if you go and you finish, I'll support you. She was like, I won't say anything else about, your dreams and what you want to do. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I just did that for them. I enjoyed it. But I could have gone and not done school, because for what I'm doing now, but I appreciate doing it. I met my husband there. So I was like, okay, like he always like says, like, the best part of college is just the fact that I met you. And I'm like, yeah, it's really sweet. And like, for me, I'm like, same. And like, I love the experience and all that, but for what I actually really, really want to do, I didn't need to go to college. I could have just went and moved to Los Angeles, found like a good production school, or like got into radio some kind of way, and just, gone from there. But I enjoy my experiences just because I can be able to give that advice to other people. And that's why sometimes when I'm explaining certain stuff, I go into detail, because this is not like becoming a nurse or a doctor where there's a laid out plan. Like, you go to school for this long, you finish that, you go do your clinicals, you finish that, you become a doctor or whatever like that. This is not a straight path, So it's like everyone has their stories of how they got there. And so that's why I like to explain, even though it gets a little wordy, I just like to explain a little bit in detail so people know like what I actually did to accomplish what I accomplished, because it's been a sacrifice every step of the way, you know? So like, and it's not like a sob story, but it's just like, it's a lot of stuff where you just like, you're questioning yourself, because before I worked in radio, I had no experience at all, you know, and I was working as a social worker too. Like I forgot to mention that part. Besides me being in school to get my master's, I was already working as a social worker in the field. I was working for the state of Texas. I was working for Child Protective Services as a social worker. So it was like totally nothing to do with radio, TV. And the people that's working there are not, you know, they don't have all the personality and stuff in the world. And I just always knew, I was like, something's not right here. I was like, because every time I would step into a room when I wasn't in the place I wasn't supposed to be, I was like, I am like, so like, and it's not even like, I'm not even like a talker like that. Like I talk and I have a personality, but if I come in a room and I don't know nobody or whatever, I'm super chill.
You're not going to take the attention and turn it on yourself. You're like, I'm going to observe. I'm going to like kind of like just bring myself into this environment.
Right.
Like,
I'm gonna warm up, but like I would still get, even if I didn't want attention, I would still get attention, because it would just be like all over, like just my aura coming in, like the energy, like people would want to talk to me, or like the way I dress or different things. I was just really like, I wasn't bland. And I was like, even I worked in news for a little bit, and one of the guys pulled me to the side, which thank God for him, because he didn't have to do it. And he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was just what do you mean? Like today, or like, you know? And he was just like, no, what are you doing? Like, what, like, and he waited for everyone to leave the room. We were finishing up a project, and like everybody was like leaving out, and I was like leaving out, and he like asked me to stay back, and he was just like, he just talked to me real quick, and he was like, because he had been working as a cameraman there for like 20 plus years. Wow. And he had been on different scenes with me. So like sometimes we would shoot in the studio, sometimes we would shoot on location. And like he just was, I guess sometimes you don't know people are paying attention to you. And like anytime I got on camera, everybody would be like so entertained, and it's news. So, and I didn't realize like you're not supposed to be entertained. Like you're supposed to be getting the facts, and I'll be giving you the facts, but it'll be so entertaining. And he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, I'm just doing my internship. I'm trying to get experience and all that. And he was like, "Okay, so what's the goal?" And I was just like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get experience. And he was just like, because I was like halfway through my internship. And he was like, "Okay, so like, what do you want to do?" And like, no one had really ever asked me, like, like, what do you want to do? And all sort of stuff like that. And I'm still young. And so I'm like, probably like 21 or something like that. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I like talking. I like being expressive and stuff like that. Cause he was like asking me certain questions to lead me up to that. And then, so he was just like, okay, he was like, you're going to have to figure it out. Like, you're going to have to pick one. He was like, cause if you're here and you want to do news, he was like, all of that, you have to stop. Because I was like the hair, like I told you, I'm a hairstylist. So like even before I, got my license, so like the hair was all spectacular, and like the earrings and like the outfit I wore, like it was still professional, but I might have like on like a black like pantsuit, but I have like a purple blazer or something like and he was like, it's for news, it's too much. He was like, you won't make it here, or it's going to be very, very difficult for you, because that's not what news is. And he was like, and then I ended up telling him that I was a radio personality. And he was like, why didn't you say that in the beginning? He's like, I can see that. He was like, you have so much personality. He was like, I'm not telling you to quit your internship. He was just like, but you need to figure out your why, basically. And he was just like, this is not it, obviously. He's like, you have to make that decision for yourself. But he was like, if radio is what you're doing and you're already there, and he was like, and I'm looking at all of this, he was like, then you need to really put your all into radio. And I was like, okay. And it made me, because I didn't know, like when I got into news, it was just an opportunity to do it. I just knew people, and they were like, you should take this internship. And I was like, okay. And then when I started looking back, and now that I'm like older and more experienced, and I look back, I'm like, what the hell was I doing in the news department? Because
you are like so into like, I want to try it, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
So it's the curiosity factor. That's exactly why you did it, not because like you were forced to.
True. Yeah, very true. Because you learn from trying things. What I learned from trying things is that you figure out what you like, what you don't like. I've done a little bit of everything, which is why I'm starting one of like I'm restarting Mellow Knows, is because I realized that I've been able to have certain experiences that other people haven't. Like I know we're talking earlier about moving and stuff like that, moving across country and having to move to LA and New York. There are a lot of people who don't have that opportunity to do so for whatever reason, whether it's finances, whether it's their relationship, they have kids, whatever, or just, scared, and then I've tried a lot of different jobs, but it's the way I've set my life up. But it's not for everybody, because even people in my family who we grew up together, we didn't follow the same path. Like I'm the one that's like, I've always been like the flower child and like real flighty and like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try that. Like I've been a club promoter, I've done, like all kind of random stuff, brand ambassadors, like just random things. And I'm like, oh, I've tried that, I've done that, I've worked there. And you try it, you're like, okay, cool, I like it, I don't like it, or that was cool for that time period, and you move on. So yeah, I definitely think like if you can, the best way to figure out if you're good at something, if you're gonna like it, is to try it, and just see what it's like once you actually get in there.
No, for sure. Take your sip of water too, because I know you were thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, girl, I'll ask you a question or two, so that way I'm like, you get a moment to like get some water in you, because hydration is so important. So you did all of that and you excelled clearly at that, and you're still doing it right now. When the hell did you become a hairstylist?
Like, I became a hairstylist in 2016. I got licensed.
So why all of a sudden you were like, yeah, I'm gonna go get that? Because it sounds like you're a forever student in like a good way, not like, oh, okay, I'm dumb and I have to be in school forever, but you're like forever wanting to learn, you're a forever student, and like both in school and out. So what was it that you were like, I want to go do hair now too? Like what?
I'm glad you asked that, because like that just I could just tell like you're really like you're thinking and you're like really into the conversation. But it's important because the reason why I decided to do that was because I always had like, a talent and a skill for doing hair and makeup. And people always ask me. I actually was doing hair and makeup for people like at weddings and all that type of stuff before I got licensed. And so what happened was working in radio, because that's like my first love and everything like that. And I always tell people, you love radio. For the ones of us who really love radio, like you love radio, you're into it, but radio don't love you, because you'll be in it and they'll drop you in a second, move in a different direction. And that's certain, artistic lanes anyway, like if you're an actor or whatever, like, oh, we're going to go in a different direction. But what I realized was while I was being a radio personality, I was still in school, I was finishing up school, and I was in a really awkward point where I was like, okay, I'm still young, I'm still a student, but I'm living on my own. I've lived on my own since I was like about like 19, 20. And so I was like, I have bills. And radio doesn't pay like that sometimes. Sometimes you can get, a good opportunity or position, but at the end of the day, compared to like doing other things, it doesn't pay. And then what happened was, when I was at the first radio station that I worked at, I was there for 4 years. Well, that company got taken over like 3 times while I was there. Wow. So yeah. And so what that means is like when it gets bought out by someone. So what happened was, it was like I call it mom and pop. I always call it anything that's like a family business, I call it mom and pop, even if it's like a big business, just because it has that personal touch to it. So it was owned by a family. It was owned by a guy, and he had passed away right before I got there. So like within that year or something. So it was owned by the family. Of course, after a while, I guess the family was like, they want to sell it, or someone was like, let me come in and buy it. So every time a company gets taken over, that brings an opportunity where either they're going to keep the people that work there on, or they're going to get rid of everybody and bring their people in. And so every time the company got taken over, like it'll be a lot of turnover, like, well, not really turnover. It'll be a lot of people that lost their jobs. And I always kept mine because I was really experienced. And while I was there, I made sure to learn everything. So it was like, oh, we could use her because she knows how to produce, board ops. She does traffic. She's an on-air personality. Like, so let's keep her. But I was like looking at the people who were there, and they were like, older. They were like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. People, had mortgages. They had children in college, and they were just, all they had ever done was radio. And I'm like, you can't take that resume to too many places and, and hurry up and get a job and get paid. And so long story short, I just was like, yeah, I need to figure out something else. Like I need to have something on the side that's going to always like feed me. And I'll always be okay. And so that's why I ended up going into beauty school, just because it was always an interest of mine. But I was like, let me get licensed, because if I'm licensed, just a pro tip out there for anybody. If you're licensed as a cosmetologist, you'll be able to get a job all the time, no matter what, wherever you are. So, and that has always helped me. That's why, that's what made me move to LA. Besides the DJ school, like everything's interconnected that I do. Like, so besides the DJ school, that's what helped me get a job. Like once I got my license in California, because I had been sitting in like Cali for like maybe about 3 months waiting to take the test. And like once I got licensed, like literally the next day I got a job.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I applied and like I applied to like because I was like, okay, the last thing in my mind, I was like, dang, I feel bad leaving my husband. We just got married. And we also had been dating and been together, but I was like, dang, we just got married. We're trying to settle in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to apply for jobs here in Sacramento and I'm going to apply for jobs in LA. Whoever calls first and like whatever way that goes, I'm just going to follow that path and like, no, like, okay. And so I applied for Sacramento, applied for LA. Next day, LA was calling me. And they wanted to do an interview that week. And so I got on a bus because I didn't want to drive. So I got on a bus and like I rode out to LA. I did my interviews. I rented a car. I checked some places out to see where to stay and all that. And then I came back. And then like before I could even get back to Sacramento, they were hiring. Both jobs hired me.
Wow.
And I picked the one I didn't have experience in because I had already worked in like skincare and stuff before, but I had never done hair professionally. And I was like, let me just do that because I want to learn, like I want to challenge myself. And so I accepted it, and then it was on from there. Like, and it was like in a matter of like a week or two. So like I had a job and I had the school I was going to. I didn't have a place to stay, but I just went and like I figured it out.
And I love how supportive you and your husband are of one another, because if he wanted to do the same in his career, you'd be like, yes, go follow your dreams. So I love that you guys have that really strong relationship that you're like, yeah, we've been married just a few weeks now, but I'm going to leave you after we already moved to this other brand new place and go chase this. You know, I just think that's so incredible because it really gives you the chance to exercise all of your curiosities, challenge yourself in good ways, grow in good ways, because I think a lot of people like, and you'll see in older generations, like they're so complacent on everything because you were just told to have that stability and to have like the cookie cutter family and to be a homeowner, American dream. But so many people lose their passions or don't know what their passions are. So you now being in your 30s, because you're like, oh, 20s is so long ago, which it really wasn't, but like at a 10-year snapshot, what you've accomplished in your life. Not a lot of people could say that they did that in their entire lifetime, you know? So it's like, you gotta like, give props to yourself for sure, because that's not easy. And I feel like it's a good way because you're challenging yourself in so many different ways. I've never worked on the radio. Boom, there you go. I've never owned my own company. Now you have a credit repair company. I've never done hair professionally. Went out and did it. I went to DJ school. Now I'm it's like, you just were like, no, I want to figure it out, like what's going on in this industry, what's happening in the world. And I'm going to put myself out there. Way too many people, because school costs money, because they are scared to move or to like take that leap of faith. Like you're like, no, I'm embracing this fully. So I will say your parents should be super proud of you. So even though you're not working that traditional social work job, I hope your mom is like singing your praises every day.
Oh yeah, like she's like my biggest supporter now. But it's so funny because she never wants to acknowledge like the beginning when she wasn't. And I was like, girl, like you were, it's okay. And I think it's important to I think it's important to just talk about, not to her, but just like to just be honest about it, because it's not easy. Like even though I've done all these different things, it certainly has not been easy. It's always like a mental like dilemma in your head. Like, am I doing the right thing? Because there's times where I was, going after what I was going after, and I wasn't making any money, and everybody's like looking at me like, why? Like, and I left my job with my 401k and making all this money and stuff like that. And it was just like, you left making thousands of dollars per month to barely making anything. And like, but it's like, you just know in your head, like, okay, I keep my head down. I do this for a couple months, maybe a year. And then like, I'll have all of this, so sometimes you have to just be able to do stuff. And like you said, like I'm married and like my husband's very supportive, but there was times too where he was like looking at me sideways, like, so what do you want to, because he's military, so in his mind he's very like, very cut and dry, like black and white. And so he's just like, what do you want to do? Like, so how are you gonna do that? And his thing is, so how are you gonna make money? Like it's just like, So you have to like be able to do it in spite of every like all the noise and everybody's like, you know, has, and sometimes it's not like people hating, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not that. Sometimes people are just like concerned and worried. And but you still have to go out there and do it. So yeah, so that, and then the only advice I can give as far as like, you know, me and my husband being really supportive of one another is that it's definitely a journey. You definitely have to be patient with one another, and you definitely have to find your person, because if it wasn't him, I don't think I could do this with anybody else. And I've, not that I've even like really tried like that, but I obviously dated other people before my husband. He's dated other people before me, and it wouldn't be like that, you know? So my husband is military. He's gone off, you know, for his jobs too. He's deployed before, all that. And I've been supportive of him, and it's been, you know, cool. So that's why he was able to be so supportive of me as well. Cause it's like, well, you've shown and proved that, you know, you let me do my thing to build up what I need to do in my career. And it's just benefited us. We were like a team. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that we're not together for like 5-6 months, but you come back and now we're, you know, able to get a house within like a year or two after that, because of the sacrifices you made. You know, the experience you've gotten from that has put you in a position to where we can do these things together. So find your person. Don't be, you know, I always tell my friends, do not let your little boyfriend stand in the way of your husband. Like, no.
I love it. Now I do have a question for you, because you just mentioned like that you questioned yourself at times, like, am I doing the right thing or not? Was there ever a moment at the end of all of that that it wasn't the right fit? You know, did like you were like, is it worth it or not? Because I think everything that you've done thus far has been worth it. You know, like, did you ever say like you question it and then you're like, shit, I really went against myself? Because I feel like for what you're telling me and from what I know about you previous to this interview, you just go all in. Like, you don't have any regrets on anything that you've done. So, you know, it's crazy because you question it, you're like, you've made it this far.
Right.
You know?
No, I don't think necessarily I have any like regrets. I think the only regrets I have is maybe not doing as much when I was in the time period when I was in certain positions. And that's probably just it. Like, just making sure, like when I was first in radio, like we didn't have the ability necessarily to like record ourselves. There's something called Vox Pro that a lot of people on radio know about, and you could record yourself. We had a Vox Pro, it never worked because it was like an older station. So sometimes the equipment didn't work. And like I was telling you, like a lot of stuff we did manually, like barely on my way out, like maybe like the last 6 months or a year I was there, but then we get automation. So where we can like load stuff and have things playing together. Like everything I did on radio for like the first 3 years was me like doing it. So I got so good at doing the boards and transitioning and talking and doing all this other stuff. So like, I wish I would have like recorded some of that and had like a lot more. I have a couple shows, but I just wish I had like things documented that I can be able to say like, oh, look, this is what I did. Here's, you know, that. But I think everything, like I did stuff in stages. So everything I did like was pretty good and for a reason. And everything like led up to like the next thing that I wanted to do. So like, yeah, I research stuff, I think about stuff, and like I just kind of have gotten really comfortable, which I wasn't always like this. I got really comfortable with knowing myself and like and listening to me. And I have like a relationship with God. Like I'm not super religious, I'm very spiritual. But I have like when I like early 20s, I finally like realized when God was talking to me, and that was all I needed. Because sometimes you're like, and you're like, wait, is this what I'm supposed to be doing, or is that what I'm supposed to be doing? And then when you have like your parents and like everybody like talking to you, it just gets really overwhelming, you know. And even like just a young college student, it's like, oh, what are you gonna do with your life and all that? And it's like, I don't know.
Yes,
like,
like,
I don't know.
ask me these questions.
Right. You get like so like, you know, like, and I think everybody goes through that to a certain extent. So it's just like, just figure out, for me, it's like once I figured out, okay, what it is that I want to do, and then just trusting God and having faith, like, okay, it's gonna work out. Because when you're in your like early 20s or even whatever, there's times where you're inexperienced and life hasn't hit you yet. And then you have something that happens in life where your faith is tested and things play out, and you see, like for me, you see how like God, like it was like, this is nothing but God. Like if God wasn't in this thing, it would not have worked out like this. And then it's like my trust was like, oh, like I really can because people talk about it, and somebody grew up in church. My dad was a deacon and all that, but it's like when you experience it for yourself, I was like, oh shoot, like okay, so I can really ask him for what I want, and he'll make the path. And it just happened like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not listening to nobody else. I'm just gonna follow what God is telling me and keep it moving. So I think, if anything, I regret not being able to figure that part out sooner. But now I'm just like, I don't care what anybody's saying to me. I already know what I want to do. Like, and I know it's gonna work out.
Absolutely. And like we
Yeah.
were talking earlier too about doing everything that serves purpose, so
Mhm.
being really focused and, why am I blanking on my words today? I can't even talk, but like just like staying like super focused on the path that you want to do and do it with purpose. You're not just doing it
Mhm.
because you're just like, all
It's
right, well,
popular.
yeah, it's popular or it's going to just pay my bills. Like you need to find fulfillment in these things. So clearly you've like delved into different areas that you've been passionate about and it's proven
Mhm.
successful, because it's like, take a look at all of the stuff that you've done right now. And I want to jump in quickly and give you a shout out first for your pain-free solutions credit repair, because I had some issues on my credit statement
Mhm.
I was a little like surprised about. And I reached out to Mello and was like, girl, I know you own this company. Come help me out with this.
Yeah.
And, thankfully she was able to write all the letters for me and dispute these things. And my credit report went up 84 points. Thank you because of you. So I appreciate it. But having that
Very
financial
welcome.
literacy, I cannot talk. I need to eat some
It
lunch
is
soon.
okay.
That's what it is. But but to have that financial literacy, I'm really starting to get into that as I'm like in the home buying process
Mhm.
and trying to like figure that out on my own. I'm like, what do I need to know to move forward with this and to fix my credit,
Right.
all that stuff. So how did you get started in that? So we have moved from like being on-air personality DJ, now doing hairstyles, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to have that financial competency aspect of it.
Mhm.
Like, did that just come from like you on your own journey? Has this always been something that you've kind of like had interest in?
Yeah, so can you see me? Okay. So yeah, so like basically right before I moved to California, I didn't have like any credit knowledge, nothing like that. So this was like 2016. So I had no credit cards. I had one that my mom had gotten me and I didn't realize like how to use it or anything like that. So thankfully I had it because it was like I had been having it for a while. So the maturity rate on it was good. But I just didn't know anything about credit. I didn't have credit. I paid for everything in cash. When I got out of college, I was always making really good money. So, and I lived in like a smaller town in East Texas, so it wasn't super expensive. So I was paying for everything in cash. And I was like, I'm not a like a luxury spending kind of person. Like I'm really good at spending my money. So like but when I started like, becoming like a big girl and really needing stuff like to buy a car and all that, it was like, I don't have no credit. So they don't, all I have is student loans. So they don't have nothing to base off of and say like, yeah, you can pay for a car and everything will be fine. Cause that's what a lot of people don't realize. Credit, like anyone who's giving you a loan, that's what they look at. So before I moved, I just was like, okay, I need to start figuring this out. So I just slowly start figuring things out, started acquiring some credit cards. And then I had been in LA for maybe about like a year or so. And I had a lady fix my credit before I moved. And my credit wasn't bad, just like yours. Your credit wasn't bad. It's just that there were things on there, like I didn't know how to read my credit report. There was things that could be fixed as far as like how it was reporting. And so she helped me so I can get like a really good deal on my car. Cause I was like, I know I can get a car and I don't have to put no money down. And a lot of people don't realize that either. They like take all this money and they like save up $1,000 or $3,000 that they don't have, and they take it to the car companies and they give it to them as a down payment, and they don't realize like that doesn't do anything to your note. Like that's just money that they're taking, and it doesn't really change much. So your credit is a big factor. And like even my mom, she was going with me. I was getting the car on my own, but I just was like, 'cause my mom's she's like a hustler. Like she know how to talk and like, make stuff happen. So I was like, all right, I need you with me. And like, but even she kept being like, you can't get a car without a down payment. And I was like, yes, you can if your credit's good enough.
Watch me.
Right.
Yeah, you're
And
like,
like,
nice
so
try, lady.
no, you're good. But like, yeah, no, so we did it. We finally found the car I wanted. And they were like, so what do you want? And it was so funny because like all the different dealerships I went to, like I just knew what to do because I had been, I had been working with this lady. I had been kind of like, looking, researching stuff. And so like it was really like the ball was in my court. And I was like, this is what I want to give y'all. And they were like, okay. And like even like there, I was like, this is where I want to stay at in my price range. I was like, I don't want to pay no more than $300. Like that's it. Because I knew that's what I could afford. Like if anything happens, I lose my job, whatever. I know, just being a radio, you always just learn like you can lose your job. So don't be going all fancy. And like, so yeah, they were trying to bring me cars that were like 30,000 and this and that. Cause it's like you can afford a brand new 2017 and this and that. And I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah, you're so like, give me what I asked for. Right. I need 4 wheels. I need, maybe like a good CD player or like, Sirius XM. Like there's a few things I need.
I need to get around.
Yes.
And not break down. Yeah. Like, so like that just experience just helped me because I realized like the difference with some of my friends who didn't have good credit and how they would get like, yanked around and get like these horrible deals and their car notes would be like $600, $700, $900. And it would be like a basic car. And like, so long story short, I figured that out, did that experience. And I was like, okay, like that feels good. And like when you're doing like a car or a house, they get all up in your business. So you'd be like, ooh, like, like they like look through everything. So I was like, dang. And so the lady that helped me, she wasn't teaching at the time, but then after a while, she started teaching credit repair. And I was like, I think I want to learn, because I just know how it made me feel. And I know like this type of field that I work in, like credit is really important for us because our money is up and down. We get paid in cash, we get paid, in checks. And also, so we have different projects that we worked on. You get paid for that. So it's like, we don't make like every 2-week check, And I was like, she started teaching once I was financially available too. I paid for the class, learned it. And then I just went ahead and like built everything up and like launched it. And a lot of people started hitting me up to get their credit repaired. And just recently I started realizing that a lot of people were hitting me up to buy a house. And I was like, I'm going to change my tactics. Like before I was like trying to help small business owners and like my niche was small business owners and creatives. And I was like, now I want my niche to be home ownership because that's just how the business was going. It made more sense, So that's what I'm doing right now. Like between this week and moving forward into the next couple of weeks, I'm about to transition and, redo everything on the site, on my Instagram and all that, just so like it's more cohesive and I'm helping, I'm just helping people. Like the biggest thing is like, I want to help people. That's it. I just want to help you. I want you to feel confident. I want you to be comfortable. And I want you to know what's out there and not be afraid because a lot of times we're not taught credit repair in school or nothing like that. Our families don't teach it to us. And then you're afraid of like credit. And it's like, it could really work to your benefit, Like I'm paying the same amount. Like my house, I have a really good friend who just bought a house a couple years ago, like maybe like 2 years ago. And me and her pay about the same in mortgage, but my house costs twice as much as hers. And so it's the difference of like credit and where you're at. And not that her credit's bad, but it's just a difference in what's offered to you based upon like your financial, assessment, like what you have going on. Yeah. Long story short, always.
No, I love it. And I got to plug my computer in. Hold on 1 second. Sorry to be so rude, but I'm like,
no, you're good.
That it's dying. All right, Mello. So welcome back. I'm so sorry for that little technical difficulty. So you guys, I was just explaining to her quickly as we reconnected that I was going to push my power cord in, and while I'm holding the other side of my computer, hit the power button. So I disconnected ever so rudely on Mello, but here we are back again. So thank you for not ditching out and wanting to finish this.
Oh, no, you're fine. That's not a problem.
So to finish up, we had actually, thankfully, because of Legendary Media Group, we have weekly calls every Sunday. And we have an opportunity to share with different group members of what's been going on lately. So Mello, like she said, off camera, we were talking about COVID and how like she's been super busy and slowing down on redirecting, rebranding some of her jobs that she has. Because as you guys can tell, she has a lot like cooking and going on in her life right now. But you had mentioned that you're getting back into Mello Knows, and you're also going to be talking about holistic things. So I wanted to dive into that because I'm actually really intrigued about it and I want to learn about it. So I wanted to see kind of the way that you're going to be delivering all this information and what you'd be able to share with us.
So basically I have been thinking about relaunching Mellow Nose. I've been having it for like 10 years now, but I never like did anything like super duper with it. And so I'm always trying to figure out how to bring new content. So I was just like, I think that would be a cool aspect to bring to the table, just because for me and my lifestyle changes, like I know like some things have, well, I can share it. I don't mind sharing and talking about it. Cause I'm always like, I don't want to get too deep on people's like, platform or whatever, but,
No, this is what it's for. It's your voice
right.
is to be heard and whatever you feel comfortable in doing. So don't worry about it.
Right. So basically the last couple months, we moved into our house like in mid-July. I found out I was pregnant like mid-August, and then everything was cool, it was fine. And I thought, and I don't know anything about being pregnant. I've never been pregnant before. Never really, not that I didn't want kids, but I was like, I can wait. Like I was always that person that was like, I'll probably have kids like when I'm like in my like close to 35, 32, something like that. And so whenever I got pregnant, I was like, oh, okay, like I don't feel pregnant or nothing like that. And then sure enough, all the pregnancy first, semester symptoms hit me, and it hit me hard as hell. And so for me, I was one of those people that I was sick all the time. And like I really slowed down, and like a lot of people, like all my family was like, what the hell's going on with her? Like, like they thought something was wrong. Like no one even thought pregnancy. Because it was like, like she don't want kids like that, like not yet. So went through that. Thankfully one of my really really good friends, like she already has kids, so she was able to like just talk me off through it. She was like, girl, yes, I told you this was coming and all that. And then but I had my my pregnancy, everything was going good, all that good stuff. I ended up miscarrying, unfortunately. And so that was a whole thing. And like it kind of changed my mindset, one, because just having the experience being pregnant during COVID, I had a really, really good, like we have really good like healthcare, and thankfully the area that we stay in, the hospital is literally 2 minutes up the street. Like I could jog there. So it was cool. My doctors were cool, all that good stuff. But it just was like, it's an odd time, it's kind of scary because it's like, it's serious. And like people always like talk about pregnancy and like, oh, when are you gonna have kids and da da da, and that irritates me anyway when people talk about that, because I'm like, that's kind of like personal, and that's not it's not like getting a puppy, I can't take it back,
Right, exactly. So, it is his final sale stamps, yes, no
so
returns.
Like, it's a big deal, yes. Right? And like no one ever talks about like the reality of pregnancy. I think people had just started talking about it like more recently, and I was just like, it kicked my ass. And every pregnancy is different, all that good stuff. I was completely healthy, so it's nothing that was going on like with me, that anything I was doing. I was very very healthy. I had like tons of doctors and nurses and all that, because the healthcare team here, you can like talk to anybody. So my doctor's not available, they'll have someone there that they all work together. So I felt comfortable. But yeah, so that it changes your body. You have to change your diet, everything. Like I couldn't have too much caffeine. I had to drink a lot of water. I couldn't eat certain things, certain stuff I didn't want because I was pregnant. So like just my palate, I couldn't do any fried foods. So like getting something quick, I was already sick. I wasn't feeling well. So I didn't feel well enough to like cook. My husband does not know how to cook. All he knows how to do is make wings. And I don't want that all the time. I didn't want stuff that was super, super flavored, which, I'm in the kitchen, I season stuff. Didn't want anything super flavored. So like my palate had just changed. Then when I ended up miscarrying, obviously I was like sick and stuff. And like people don't talk about the reality. And as a woman, you're gonna go through stuff. And so that happened. That's what got me into the holistic thing. And then what else happened? Oh, because of being pregnant, I already had like a little teeny tiny fibroid that it had been there for years. My doctor was never worried about it, nothing like that. Because of pregnancy and the hormones, my fibroid grew. And so now it's like there and it's prominent, and it's like, yeah, it's not an issue, but it's like, it's here.
It's concerning enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what got me. I had already kind of been into holistic care and all that other stuff like that. I had kind of been, playing around with it for the last 2 years and thinking about it, but I had never actually really gotten into it because obviously, old habits die hard. And so, but obviously with all that happening and changing, I started researching stuff because I was like, I don't want to be taking a lot of medications. I don't want to be possibly having to have surgery or anything like that. Because I know like a lot of people especially Black women, you have a higher risk of fibroids and causing issues and getting a hysterectomy. And I was like, I do not want 20 years from now, whatever, that I'm having to lay on someone's table. So I just found all this really cool stuff. And I was just like, I want to share it with people. Because at first I was just like, I'm learning myself. And then like I would tell like my friends or my family about it. Like one of my friends had an issue and I was like, hey, you should look into taking this and this and that. And I would send it to them. And she was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah, I need that. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, I'll start offering content like surrounded by what you can do. Cause I was like, I didn't know other people were into this. And so like a lot of people I think are starting to get off of like the whole taking tons of medications and all that. Like people just want to be more like clear and holistic. So there's tons of herbs out there that you can do. There's herbs for like just regular every day. There's healing herbs that you can use for medicine. So you can help to like, like with this COVID stuff to help block off. I know everybody doesn't necessarily believe in it, but to me, I feel like your body knows what to do. Like our body is like an amazing system. So as long as you keep it at equilibrium and give it what it needs, it will like do what it needs to do for you, So I was just like, and I learned that because I got in a car accident a couple years ago and I had to go to a chiropractor, and that's more like Eastern medicine, I guess, so that they kind of do practice like, and he was teaching me about that type of stuff. And it was like an old white man, and I was just like, what? I was like, I wasn't expecting anything, but he was cool as hell. He had been doing it for like over 40 years and been in practice, and he was just teaching me about different things and telling me like what you could do. And he basically explained it that like, as Americans, we're used to experiencing pain in our body, like, oh, my feet hurt, my this and that. And he was like, you're not supposed to be in pain, even like a little bit. He was like, when you're in pain, your body is like telling something's wrong, like you're doing something. And he was like, your body is speaking to you. So he was like, in chiropractic care, that's what we do. He was like, sometimes there's things that happen scientifically in medicine that you go to the doctor for, and they can't figure it out. I've had that happen before too, where I've had certain like symptoms, and I'm like, I don't think like nothing's wrong with me per se. Like, I don't think I have like some type of grandiose issue, but I was like, something's off. And there's like, this couldn't figure it out. And there's like, usually in chiropractic care, we do certain things holistically for your body to make adjustments, and that usually solves it. So I was like, okay, there's something here. And then like, I went to another like holistic doctor before, and just like one of my friends recommended it, and he was spot on. Like, I'll just say this, like, I thought I was anemic. And I thought like I was anemic for like a year, and I went to 5 different doctors and they never diagnosed me with anemia. And it was so weird because all my symptoms was like, I have anemia.
Matching up. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, oh no, you're supposed to be like, it's fine. Da, da. And at the time I was taking birth control, and I was like, I think my birth control is causing me to have anemia, or something's going on. Like something with this is happening. Like maybe I've been on birth control for too long or something like that. Like, and they're like, no, like, yeah, shit. And I was just like, what? And so finally I just got off of it. I was like, nah, I'm gonna, because every now and then I would take like breaks and just get off of, just birth control. And I was just like, nah. And I started feeling better, but I still was like, my symptoms are still there. And then I went to the holistic doctor, and like, as soon as he looked at me, he was like, stick your tongue out. And I stuck my tongue out, and he's like, they do this thing where they like check your pulse, and they have like a training where they can like figure stuff out in the body. And like, he looked at me for like 2 seconds. He was like, you have anemia. I didn't tell him my symptoms.
Hello, I've been saying it all along and trying to advocate for myself, and nobody wants to listen.
Right. Yeah. I didn't tell him my symptoms. I didn't say anything. He just sat down and looked at, he didn't know me from nowhere. I just came in, and he was like, okay. And he was just like, all right. So he touched, and he was like real quiet. He was like, okay, be quiet, just breathe. And then like, he looked up at me. He was like, stick your tongue out. Stuck my tongue out. And he was like, you're anemic. And I was like, and everybody, like my mom and my best friend were with me, they were like, whoa, because we had all known, like I had been thinking something was going on, and they were like, how did he know that? And then like, he just was spot on with everybody. And then we would like talk more about whatever was going on, and he was able to like tell us, what was going on. And then he prescribed us like different herbs to use and stuff like that. So I was like, and then we took it, and it worked, like everything, like. And I was just like, okay, something has to, because like anything else that I took was not solving it. So yeah. Girl, that's a long way to
it is.
But yeah.
But you know what? Yeah. Everything truly happens for a reason. Like, I think that like you had to unfortunately be in that car accident in order to go to the chiropractor and learn about these things. unfortunately, like God threw you another wrench in the whole system, like, you know, experiencing pregnancy and then the loss of the baby, to you to like refocus and be like, if not like just for content, more so like more importantly, to be like, no, I need to get back on that holistic level and understand like how my body is working. Because you had a taste of it when you went to the chiropractor to get treated, but now you're like really taking your health into your own hands and like discovering and learning. So it's like, whether or not you want to share this info, I mean, we love it that you are going to do that, but I'm just like, to like know how to read and recognize like your body and understand pain or certain feelings that you're doing and how you can do it without popping pills all the time.
Right.
Like it's so important.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. And I'll just say this, like, and I'm like healthy. I don't have anything like majorly wrong with me or anything. So that's why I was never like really into it. But it's like, it's a whole, I discovered a whole community out there, and then just certain things, like with the fibroid, I want to see if I can be able to like minimize it naturally. So I found a whole bunch of stuff with that. So like, yeah, I just think it's something to know about. And the only reason why I'm like, I'm very transparent. I really don't care. I don't mind talking about stuff because I know everybody goes through stuff. And I don't ever want anyone to look at me and like think like everything sounds all great. She's done this, she's done that, and she's all good at this. And it's like, I'm still human. I still have a life. I still have experienced things that I don't necessarily have control over. But I think it's how we respond to what's going on in our life, one. And then two, it's just that when I realized, like when I went through like my miscarriage, I didn't know how common it was. Like, it's like 1 in 4. And even my doctors was like, it's really, really common. No one expected it because I'm super healthy, but it's like, it's nothing you can do. It's not about your health. It's not about you eating anything. You didn't do anything wrong. It's like, this just happens. Like sometimes like in your body just knows like something's not right. Like either like a chromosome is off or something like that. And your body just is like, okay, no, which I think is a like an amazing thing that your body just, realizes. And it sucks, but it's like, I would rather experience that than to have like a child that would be really, really sick and have a lot of issues and I can't do anything for it, having to worry about, their life and what's going on. So yeah, but it's a whole community. It's so many women out there who don't talk about it publicly. And it's nothing to be ashamed about because it's like most women have had a miscarriage at some point if they've had kids. And so this was just my experience, but it opened me up to like a whole different world. And so, yeah, so because of that more, so it's not really because of the miscarriage part, but it's more of the pregnancy, my body changed. Those are things I couldn't, get around. People don't tell you about all that type of stuff. I just feel like as women too, we need to talk more about it openly so that we know what to expect. So I just wanted to like advocate for people, like let them know that there's other routes to take if you're not comfortable with what's put out there for you, like, and right now people are afraid of going to the hospitals and stuff. And, it's kind of scary and it kind of sucks with COVID because like I had to go through my pregnancy like alone. Like my husband was very supportive in there, but he wasn't allowed to come to any of the appointments. We had to like maybe FaceTime, but I didn't have service inside the building. So it was like, that didn't really help me. And like pretty much he was allowed to be at the birth. And I'm like, that kind of sucks because he's a part of this. Like, he wants
he's half of this, just because I'm carrying the baby.
So,
he helped make this. So this is just as important to him as it is to me. Yeah.
Yep. So the whole holistic thing, there's like other parts too where you have like doulas and you could do stuff at home. So I'm like, and people like try to make you afraid of it, but it's just like, there's other ways and just make your decision based off of what you're comfortable with. It can go good or bad either way, but I just wanted to put the information out there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just kind of on this whole thing about like just putting shit out there, throwing shit to the wall, see if it sticks and cool. And, I feel like sometimes like when I'm doing these interviews, like maybe I might be a little too like wordy and that's fine. That's just who I am.
But that's what makes you. Like, yeah. So you never need to apologize for that at all. Yeah.
I was like, I could change it or try and change it, but I was just like, it is what it is. Whoever the message is meant for, that's who will receive it. And that's fine with me. And yeah. And then hopefully it's like, okay, I've done 1 or 2 like in-depth interviews. So like, there you go. You can get the information from there. So moving forward, then I don't have to like explain so much about what I'm doing and why, but hopefully once the content comes out, then it will help people. Like that's my main, that's the social worker in me, which is why I chose social
Yes.
Because I
So
want to
all
help
things were
people.
not lost on you when you chose your double major. You're like, yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I guess mom was right in a sense, having the stability, because otherwise you probably would have just gone into the creative art, the liberal arts aspect of it, and been like, I'm not going to do the stable thing. But so everything happens for a reason. Sure. So I'm so excited. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and learn more about your story, because it's always so intriguing and I'm just like in awe of you every day. So
Oh, thanks.
so many good things.
Same here. Same here. I know we've been on for like a long time and stuff, but I mean, hopefully it was good and I gave you what you needed, and I'm happy you had me on. I really appreciate it. And you've given me so much motivation to like start doing my own like Zoom interviews and getting it going for like making it in media and all that. So yeah, thank you.
Of course, absolutely. I cannot talk. I'm like,
You need
man,
your grilled cheese.
I know, right? You guys, when I hung up by accident, I had to wait for it to reload. So I just made a grilled cheese. I still got half of it waiting for me to be eaten. That's all I could do. I'm like, I got to do a split-second lunch right now. But Mello, because I want everybody to go and support your businesses and to hear more of what you have to say, I need you to drop every single handle that you have possible. So if you don't mind letting my anti-social butterflies know all about you, where to find you, that would be awesome.
Okay, so Instagram is like the main place, and then it just will link you everywhere. But Mello Liza Smilez, so MELLOLIZA. Once you type that in, you'll see me. And and then Pain Free Solutions is my credit repair company. So PAYNE_free_solutions, and it has all the information there. And then as far as like making it in media and Mello knows, that's linked to my Mello Liza Smilez as well. So then you'll be able to like, maneuver around and see what's going on. So yeah, please check me out.
Yes, everybody go and support her, because listen, she could come do your hair, fix your credit, DJ your event that you got your hair done for, give you the herbs beforehand. Her husband can make you wings while you're doing all this stuff. I mean, we got lots of going on in the Payne household over there. So
you're so hilarious.
I'm like, we got to support you, because girl, right? There's nothing that you cannot do, right? You just told me you're going to go cook after this. So I'm like, man, you're amazing. So Mello, thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. And I hope to have you come back soon and tell us more about the Mello nose and the holistic journey that you're on.
Yes. Thank you. I would love to come back. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome anytime. Love you, girl.
Love you.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.